You guys know I watch a lot of TV shows and I'm obsessed with a lot of TV shows, and I've loved a lot of shows throughout the years, but this has got to be one of the best shows I've ever watched. Like, I keep trying to tell people to watch who have never watched because it's so good. There's never a disappointing episode, and this week's episode was another example of why the show is so amazing. So Frank is having a season of meltdown. Like, he totally looks different, which he looks way hotter to me. I'm so glad he got rid of the facial hair. Like, he even looks younger. I don't even know how old this man is, but he looks great. Great. Anyway, but we knew he killed that hitman, but he feels bad about it, you know, because Frank is a, you know, tough guy and a shady guy, but maybe deep down in his heart he's not such a bad guy. I don't know. What do you think? Let me know down below. But he's telling Annalise he feels bad about it, but he didn't have a choice. But I think she basically paid this man to kill him. So yeah, if someone's going to kill you and you have... I'm not saying you should kill people, but it was self-defense. We'll just leave it at that. So Annalise wants Wes to move in with her, which makes me wonder and makes me curious about what we know is going to be the finale with someone dying possibly inside her home. And I still think it's going to be a major character. And is it going to be Wes because he has moved in there and he lives there and he dies in the fire? I'm not sure how all this is going to play out. Like, I don't know if someone's going to kill someone and then the fire is a separate incident. I don't know if the person's going to die in the fire, or like Georgie commented on my channel, was the fire set by Annalise to cover up someone who was already murdered by somebody that she hired, because she usually doesn't do the dirty work, let's be honest. So I started talking to you guys in my live reaction show, which if you didn't know, if you're on the East Coast or if you're not on the East Coast but you still want to come, I do live reactions every Thursday, 10 p.m. Eastern for this show. It's a lot of fun because this is a show where crazy jaw-dropping moments happen, and if I used to just tweet about them, but it's just not as effective as me being on there really reacting. Like, if you were sitting at my house, you would see how I was reacting. So yes, that's what we're doing every Thursday. But I was saying, you know, I'm going to start eliminating people who I think will be survivors of each episode, because we know that every episode one person is going to be shown as surviving and who is not going to die this season. So I thought it would be Oliver. And we'll just jump ahead and say, yes, it was Oliver who lived through this week's episode. And for next week, I'm predicting Nate, but I would love to know your thoughts down below. Please leave me one guess about who will survive. And I'd also like to see one guess about who will die. So you can leave that in the same comment or whatever you want to do, but I'm just really curious to see what people's thoughts are. But I'm standing by. It's going to be big characters like the Keating Five or Bonnie who are killed. As the weeks go on, I can narrow that down, and I promise you I'm going to make a final prediction way before the finale, because I like to try to figure out this show. So we have our side cases. We had one last week and we have one this week, and it's going to be that type of season where we have little side cases that get all wrapped up and move on. We don't see those people again and we get new people next week. As opposed to last season where we had the case take over the entire season. Personally, I like it better where the main characters are having main drama, you know, they're having the drama of the season, and the side cases are just what they should be, kind of like to the side. They get figured out and we're done with them. So we had a woman who was accused of killing her husband. She was already in jail, and she was saying it was self-defense in a way. And she picked Connor to represent her, and she was someone who would not speak up for herself, and it was probably because she had suffered a lifetime of abuse, but he really helped her. Now, he did say that he killed a man, which technically I don't think he should take that kind of credit, because he was just sort of an accessory to Sam's murder, but he does feel guilt and feels responsible for that. But by him confiding in her, you know, it helped her to be able to speak out for herself. Now, yes, she confessed to killing her husband, and it wasn't really in self-defense in that moment, but he had been beating her forever. He was going to beat her the rest of her life and possibly kill her. So, you know, it wasn't a cut and dry case. And by her telling what had happened, what her mindset was, what she was dealing with, it made her eligible for parole, and Connor had a big role in this, and I think he did an excellent job, even though at times he got a little too emotional. I thought that was a really good case for this week. So basically, Annalise gets suspended from her job. Shout out to the woman from Quantico and Dexter, because this woman gets a lot of work. I can't even tell you what her real name is, but I really like her. But anyway, so she's told she can't come back, and she's like, no. And they're like, what? And she's like, yeah, I'm going to keep teaching here. You're going to have to lock me out of the building, and I'm going to sue you and all this stuff, and it's going to go to the press. So I love how she takes no crap from anyone. You know, she's just like, I'm going to do what I want. I wish, you know, I could be more like that and be like, you're trying to fire me? No, you'll have to carry me out, you know, whatever. But it's just funny. It's like, okay, I want to see how that plays out because that's crazy. I'm curious to ask you guys who you think is putting up the flyers. Now, I think that's unrelated to the ending with the fire and the death, but I could be wrong because it's still early in the season. But I think it could be someone minor, like the student who's pretty annoying, who's new this season. Even someone like Maggie, who they're trying to make seem way too angelic, which probably means she's shady. I don't really know her agenda yet. I know that there's just no throwaway characters on this show. So why have they brought her along as a character? There's probably something in her past, maybe a reason she wanted to get close to Wes, so I'm just going to say maybe she's behind the flyers, or it's, you know, maybe that person doesn't want to kill anyone, but they have some agenda. So I'm curious to see who you think is posting the flyers, so answer that down below, please. So Oliver, we need to talk about him. Now, last season I started thinking something's just not right with him. I started to think maybe he was double-crossing Annalise and everyone. And this season's got me thinking even more because he will not get back with Connor. Connor's basically begging him to take him back, and he will not do it. So I think something really bad's got on here. Like, I don't think he cheated on him or anything like that. I think it's something really bad. Now, I gotta shout out Lori, who thinks that possibly Oliver was maybe hired by Annalise to kill Mahoney. Now, that would make perfect sense because he would feel so guilty and so awful and feel like he was a really bad person and maybe feel like Connor doesn't deserve him. I cannot remember if Connor ever told him his involvement in Sam's murder, so maybe if they shared, you know, those secrets, Oliver would feel better about being in a relationship with him, but I can't remember, so fill me in if I've forgotten. So Laurel has been calling Frank. We know that, but she's just been talking to his voicemail. So she calls again, and Bonnie and Annalise put her up to her because they want to know where he is. They need to find him because they know he's like gone crazy and is off the rails. So she actually tells him like she loves him. She's like pleading with him to come back. So they think this will work, so we will have to see. So at the end of this episode, we got what we have been waiting for to find out, and as I've already told you, to find out who lives. And we find out our first person confirmed alive besides Annalise is Oliver, who shows up at the scene of the house fire and the dead person and all that nonsense. And Annalise hands him what looks like a phone and asks him to clear everything. So we'll figure out what that phone is or how that plays into everything as the season goes on. But again, I'm predicting Nate as next week's survivor. Please predict down below. And I'm predicting someone huge as the person who dies. So this week I will say it's Wes, because people from the cast keep saying it's a devastating, heartbreaking, you know, situation. And I don't think if it was like Eve or something or someone like that, we would be like totally devastated. So post all those predictions down below. I will be back next week with my live reaction. All that info is down below. We have live reaction, then live chats on Fridays, and then videos on Saturdays. So I hope to see you for all of that next week. If you haven't subscribed, please do. I'm trying to reach my goal of 4,000 subscribers. I'm really close to that. That kind of blows my mind because I used to be like, if I could just get to 100, I would be doing great things. So to me, 4,000 is a huge deal. So if you could help me by subscribing to reach that goal, that would be great. And if you could also thumbs up, whether you're just now subscribing or you've been subscribed for a while, all the thumbs are helpful. So thank you so much for joining me for this episode of Kelly TV. I'll see you real soon. Bye.